Hi, church family. Today we're reading out of the Gospel of Luke, chapter 15, and we'll be doing chapter 16 on Sunday in church. These are some familiar stories that may have new insights for you today. Let's begin. I'm reading out of the New Revised Standard Version. Now all the tax collectors and sinners were coming to listen to him, and the Pharisees and the scribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So this is the introduction to all of the stories, and I encourage you to pay attention to who in the rest of the stories is rejoicing and who's grumbling. So he told them this parable: "Which one of you, having 100 sheep and losing one, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one that is lost until he finds it?" A key point here, the wilderness in the Bible is a place where, we talked about this in Bible study, usually you either go to find yourself and find God, or you go to get away from God. The wilderness is a scary place. So it's actually really unwise from a shepherding perspective to leave the 99 sheep out in the wilderness by themselves. Someone suggested in Bible study, maybe the shepherd has an assistant, or at least a dog to watch the sheep. But that's not the point of the parable. The point of the parable is you give attention sometimes to those who are in crisis. So when he's found the sheep that was lost, he lays it on his shoulders and rejoices. Here's that rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, and hopefully he went to get his other sheep before he does this. And he says, "Rejoice with me, for I found my sheep that was lost." Just so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one person who repents than over 99 righteous people who need no repentance. And next we have the parable of the lost coin. Or what woman having 10 silver coins, and that's several weeks' wages, that may be all of her savings, if she's lost one coin, does not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? When she has found it, she calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, for I found the coin that I've lost." Just so I tell you, there's joy in the presence of the angels of God over one person who repents. So again, there's this joy theme that keeps coming up. And here's one of the most famous parables in the Bible, the story of the prodigal son. Then Jesus said, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the property that will belong to me,' his inheritance. So he divided his property between them. A few days later, the younger son gathered all he had and traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute living. When he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of the country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs." And remember, the pigs are, for Jewish folks, an unclean animal. So this is really going from a landowning person to being someone who not only works the land, but is working with animals that are seen as unclean. He would gladly have filled himself with the pods that the pigs were eating. That's how desperate he was. And no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself and said, "How many of my father's hired hands have bread enough to spare? But here I am dying of hunger. I will get up and go to my father, and I will say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your hired hands.' So he set off and went to his father. But while he was still far off, his father saw him." This is so cinematic, right? They spot each other from across the distance. "And he was filled with compassion. He ran and put his arms around him and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.'" As someone pointed out in Bible study, both children in this narrative find it hard to believe that their parent will love them unconditionally. And I suspect that many of us also have trouble with this idea that even though we've done terrible things, or we feel like we have, that God still loves us and embraces us with this kind of compassion and joy. The father said to his servants, "Quickly, bring out a robe, the best one, and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. And get a fatted calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For the son of mine was dead, and he is alive again. What was lost is found." And they began to celebrate. So this is the theme again, right? Things are lost and then they're found. Now the elder son. Remember I said pay attention to grumbling, right? The Pharisees are grumbling. The elder son was in the field. And when he came and approached the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and said, "What is going on?" The servant replied, "Your brother has come, and your father killed the fatted calf because he's got him back safe and sound." But the older brother became angry, and he refused to go in. His father came out and began to plead with him, but he answered his father, "Listen, for all these years I have been working like a slave for you, and I've never disobeyed your command, yet you've never given me even a goat so that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came back, who's devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed a fatted calf for him." And I hear in modern English, "It's not fair." Then the father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we had to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours was dead and has come to light. He was lost and has been found." Remember that the Pharisees were grumbling about Jesus eating with sinners, and tax collectors. Just like the older son is saying, "Why are you eating and celebrating this little brother who destroyed everything, and now he just showed up and you're excited? I've done everything right." And Jesus is saying, "No, listen, sometimes people in crisis need extra support, and I've come for them also." The other thing I hear loud and clear in this text is that God is not a God of grumbling. God is a God who encounters us and rejoices. And who says both what the father says to the older son, "Everything I have is yours," and also says when we've wandered off and, lost ourselves, "I love you. Come home." The God of rejoicing, a God who rejoices in our presence, and whatever we offer, God is thrilled that we are here and that we are alive. So that's our text for the midweek. I look forward to continuing this story with you on Sunday with chapter 16. And there may be some surprises in store. I look forward to reading it with you and diving deeper then. See you later.